Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Reactor, and this is Quinn. And today's article comes from usatoday.com and says, and this is a real article, I kind of feel it's necessary to point that out. Iowa grants gun permits to the blind. Because I guess
it sounds fake.
Yeah, well, it's super fake.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't blame them for wanting to give equal opportunity to all disabled people.
Right.
Just because you're disabled doesn't mean you have less rights. You have the right to own a gun. I mean, honestly, that's a real debate right there.
My position on this may be a little premature, but I believe that, to my best of my knowledge, if you take one sense away, the other senses are like more pronounced, like better.
I feel like Daredevil from the Marvel universe has shown us that blind
Great
people
example of a person who lost their eyesight, yet completely can do pretty much anything in a fight.
Anything that someone with vision can do.
Right.
So is that really a disability? But regardless, just because someone's disabled doesn't mean you take away their rights to own a gun. Seriously, that's a real debate right there.
Right.
I can't argue that.
Right.
Of course they would need way more training. They would need to prove that they can use a gun. But really they do
I
have
think
the right.
The thing that I think most people are going to be shocked when they find out is most of these blind people shoot straighter than most law enforcement.
You think?
These days.
Well,
Perhaps.
shoot straighter at what though?
Forward? I think just about anything.
They can shoot. A blind person can shoot forward. You don't know if they can shoot at a target though.
This is true.
I feel like if a blind person can shoot it at a target, and at least just hit the target, you don't have to get like dead center shots. But yeah, you could have a gun if you could do that, man. I don't care who you are. You know?
Right. Especially if you had someone who perhaps could not operate a gun that was pointing out, hey, 3 o'clock immediately.
Yeah,
4 o'clock.
that could be. I don't know. Well, yeah, if you say target, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to be near a guy.
That sounds like some intense training.
I wouldn't want to be on a target range with a blind guy who's holding a gun. To be honest, unless he proved himself somehow, but not
unsupervised.
I'm not
a
gonna,
little dangerous.
Okay, I kind of don't want to be near him though. No offense to disabled people. That is not what I'm trying to do. No one questions the legality of permits, but some officials worry about public safety. Des Moines, Iowa. Here's some news that has law enforcement officials and lawmakers scratching their heads. Iowa is granting permits to acquire or carry guns in public to people who are legally or completely blind. So also, this could be a tricky issue because legally blind just means you wear glasses.
Right. And there's a majority of people that are considered blind who you'd think this person can't see. But in fact, they can see different light variations going in front of them. They can see when a person's passing in front of them. They may not be able to tell you what color their shirt is, but they can tell you that it's not someone that's, their friend.
Yeah. This doesn't mean that they have no sight whatsoever.
Again, other senses getting stronger, maybe your sense of smell becomes better.
I'm pretty sure Daredevil's used a gun before successfully.
And didn't Daredevil use part of his ability is like it's sonar related, where he can kind of map things out?
He can see in 3D.
Oh, okay.
And he can see behind him. It's like having eyes on the back of your head.
They really ruined that show on the TV show version of that.
I didn't really. I think I watched it, but not much. Yeah, but anyway, Iowa is granting permits to acquire or carry guns in public to people who are legally or completely blind. No one questions the legality of the permits. State law does not allow sheriffs to deny an Iowan the right to carry a weapon based on physical ability. Which, yeah, that's what I was saying. It would be wrong to do that, although they would need to prove themselves. Right. The quandary centers squarely on public safety. Advocates for the disabled and Iowa law enforcement officers disagree over whether it's a good idea for visually disabled Iowans to have weapons. If you can wear glasses and see, that is absolutely not an issue. But I'm not sure if that's exactly. I'm sure if there is the extreme end of being blind. That still, you're disabled doesn't mean you shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. Sorry, that's the truth. On one side, people such as Cedar County Sheriff Warren Wethington, who demonstrated for the Des Moines Register how blind people can be taught to shoot guns, and Jane Hudson, Executive Director of Disability Rights Iowa, who says blocking visually impaired people from the right to obtain weapon permits would violate the Americans with Disabilities Act. That federal law generally prohibits different treatment based on disabilities. Yeah, see, it is, that's a fact. On the other side, people such as Dubuque County Sheriff Don is that Greek? I don't know. who said he wouldn't issue a permit to someone who was blind, and Patrick Clancy, superintendent of Iowa Braille and Sight Saving School, who says guns may be a rare exception to his philosophy that blind people can participate fully in life.
This
See, the problem is you're judging people based on their disability. Just because you're disabled doesn't mean you can't be better at something.
this Braille guy thinks that you're not experiencing life fully unless you carry a firearm.
He said it's the only can participate fully in life. This guy's saying that you can do just because you're blind doesn't mean you can't do anything anyone else can. But he's saying except for maybe carrying a gun because they're blind.
Seems like a knife would be a better thing to carry. If I was
above. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say if I were blind. I'd rather have a knife, something I can feel. I can feel the person in front of me, and
Only problem is, it would be. I would feel a lot more secure with a knife than a gun if I were blind.
Perhaps like a Tonto.
Because if you shoot at a criminal who's trying to hurt you and you miss, that's just even worse.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like you'd have to be in really close proximity to use the
gun
firearm anyway.
Yeah. But I'm saying, just because it doesn't matter who you are, if you are capable of doing something, then you are. If you are incapable, even people who can see, if you can see but you can't, but you are horrible with a firearm, you shouldn't have a weapon either.
If we've learned anything this year, it's that people's vision can oftentimes be their disability.
Private gun ownership, even hunting, by visually impaired Iowans is nothing new, but the practice of visually impaired residents legally carrying firearms in public became widely possible thanks to gun permit changes that took effect in Iowa in 2011. It seems a little strange, but the way the law reads, we can't deny them a permit just based on that one thing, said Sergeant Jonna Evans, a spokeswoman for the Polk County Sheriff's Department, referring to a visual disability. Polk County officials say they've issued weapons permits to at least 3 people who can't legally drive and were unable to read the application forms or had difficulty doing so because of visual impairments. See, that's another thing. Should you be barred from having a driver's license just because you're blind? I mean, you kind of should. Unless you can demonstrate perfect ability to drive.
I knew a guy who was in his 90s who actually memorized the DMV's route that they took the testees on by talking to his friends. Just to maintain his license, he cheated and learned the streets they were going to go on because he couldn't read the street names anymore. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that try to scam so that they can keep driving and doing things because it's easier.
Yeah, I guess. Polk County officials say they've issued weapons permits, and sheriffs in 3 other counties, Jasper, Kossuth, and Delaware, say they have granted permits to residents who they believe have severe visual impairments. I'm not an expert in vision, Delaware County Sheriff John LeClaire said. At what point do vision problems have a detrimental effect to fire a firearm? If you see nothing but a blurry mass in front of you, then I would say you probably shouldn't be shooting something. Yeah, because you don't even know what you're shooting, really. But blind people do have a heightened awareness of the stuff around them because they rely on that.
Right, but, and depending on, the severity of, your eye impairment, that's a person who's, say, elderly, who's got impaired vision, they probably know. I mean, and it's completely depends on the situation. If an 82-year-old person is standing in their front of their house and someone kicks in the door, it's there's one person standing in front of you. The blue blob in front of you is not your friend.
Yeah.
So I think this does carry over more to home protection, because if you're visually impaired, obviously you're very aware of your environment at home. Something's going to feel off. You're going to know it's wrong, and if no one's responding to you verbally, probably it's good that you have some type of defense, not a gun, but anything.
Yeah. Training the visually impaired.
Right.
In one Iowa county, blind residents who want weapons would likely receive special training. Wethington, the Cedar County Sheriff, has a legally blind daughter who plans to obtain a permit to carry when she turns 21 in about 2 years. He demonstrated for the Register how he would train blind people who want to carry a gun. If sheriffs spend more time trying to keep guns out of criminals' hands and not people with disabilities, their time would be more productive, Wethington said, as he and his daughter took turns practice shooting with a semi-automatic handgun on private property in rural Cedar County. The number of visually impaired or blind Iowans who can legally carry weapons in public is unknown because that information is not collected by the state or county sheriffs who issue the permits. Clancy, superintendent of the Iowa Braille and Sight Saving School, said the range of sight among people who are classified as legally blind varies greatly. He believes there are situations where such applicants can safely handle a gun. However, he also expressed concerns. Although people who are blind can participate fully in nearly all life's experiences, there are some things like the operation of a weapon that may very well be an exception, Clancy said. The Gun Control Act of 1968 and other federal laws do not prohibit blind people from owning guns. But unlike Iowa, some states have laws that spell out whether visually impaired people can obtain weapon permits. Vision requirements are either directly or indirectly part of the weapon permit criteria in some surrounding states. In Nebraska, for example, applicants for a permit to carry a concealed handgun must provide proof of vision by either presenting a valid state driver's license or statement by an eye doctor that the person meets vision requirements set for a typical vehicle operator's license. The real question is, why aren't blind people allowed to drive? That's a disability that they're being excluded for.
Listen, I don't know if this makes any sense to anyone, but if you're going to let a visually impaired, perhaps completely blind person operate a firearm, why are we not training these individuals to drive? Mm-hmm. They should be,
it should be equal.
A productive member of our society.
Although driving
a car.
Being able to tell that there's an enemy 5 feet in front of you, 10 feet in front of you, is a lot different than driving 50 miles an hour.
Oh, now you're getting into nearsighted versus farsighted.
No, I'm saying legally blind could involve people who can tell that the enemy is 10 feet in front of them.
Sure, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But when you're driving 50 miles an hour, the stuff's coming at you at 50 miles an hour, you need to see 100 feet in front of you in order to know that you're safer at the next 5 seconds. You know?
And
that's
what?
Even a short amount of time.
I think that we just need to rethink the whole thing. Cars maybe shouldn't be made out of hard metal anymore. And
like soft pillows. Foam pillows.
I don't know, Nerf type stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone could drive at that point.
Bumper cars. And they
kids,
squeak.
Little kids, anybody.
All the fender benders would be squeaks.
Yeah. It would just, it wouldn't even make noise. It would just be like, poof, we're fine. Everybody's great.
Sorry about that. Hope I didn't squeak it too hard.
Yeah, hope I didn't scratch your nerve.
Other states have indirect requirements that could, but don't automatically disqualify people who are blind. That includes Missouri and Minnesota, where applicants must complete a live fire test, which means they have to shoot and hit a target. And I feel like that should be the requirement.
Right.
You know, you should be able to, if you can, I don't care what disability you have, if you can demonstrate the ability to shoot a target, you're not any different than anyone else.
I believe you have to go a step. I believe you have to do different colored targets, because, you know.
Yeah, a camouflage target,
or
just
like
in the background, like a blur might blend into the background, and you can't see that.
Or like a bunch of school kids and then one guy with a mask on.
One tall guy
behind them
wearing,
all with like a knife. And it's like, oh well,
yeah, but
you
can't
shot
shoot,
all these school kids and you missed the guy.
Nobody should shoot above a school kid to hurt a bad guy. I mean, you can take that shot, but that's like a movie scene, you know?
Why the heck would anyone carry a weapon if they're not prepared to fire into?
Well, I'm saying a guy standing behind a group of school kids. It's hostage.
Clearly he's trying to use
hostages.
Yeah, I mean he may not even be hostages, but they're like
even someone with perfect vision won't necessarily be able to hit that guy without hurting a child.
Right.
But anyway, the 50-state database of gun permit requirement published by USACarry.com also shows that South Carolina has a law that requires proof of vision before a person is approved for a weapons permit. Wisconsin, like Iowa, has no visual restrictions on gun permit applicants. Illinois lawmakers enacted a concealed weapons law in July, but permits have not yet been issued. Illinois' qualifications don't specifically require a vision test, but applicants must complete firearms training that includes gun range instruction. Yeah.
And not every state does that. It's good that states do that for all the people that even aren't.
You should be highly trained with a weapon to carry it.
There's so many slack-jawed jagaloon morons that are walking around with firearms hidden in their pockets. Like, it's scary.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess. The National Federation of the Blind does not track states that require vision tests as part of a weapon permit process and does not take an official stand on the issue. But its members are generally opposed to such laws, said Chris Danielson, Director of Public Relations for the group. There's no reason solely on the basis of blindness Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
There's no reason solely on the basis of blindness that a blind person shouldn't be allowed to carry a weapon, Danielson said. Presumably, they're going to have enough sense not to use a weapon in a situation where they would endanger other people, just like we would expect other people to have that common sense. Yeah, that's what
It's how you would expect a trained person to have the right sense.
They would probably be more careful to not, they understand they're blind,
Right. I mean, there's either you're trained to do what you're trying to do or you're not, and you're going to mess up if you're not trained.
Iowa requires training issued a permit. Iowa requires training for anyone who is issued a permit to carry a weapon in public, but that requirement can be satisfied through an online course that does not include any hands-on instruction or a shooting test. So I guess they're saying that Iowa is the worst of the.
They're just trying to point fingers at Iowa and.
Well, I'm saying Iowa's the most lenient for the blind.
Right.
And that's why they're focusing on Iowa.
Right.
A provision in Iowa's law allows sheriffs to deny a permit if probable cause exists to believe that the person is likely to use the weapon in such a way that it would endanger themselves or others. Many sheriffs noted, however, that the provision relates to specific documented actions, and applicants who appealed their cases would likely win. So you have to have like a charge or something of using a weapon in an illegal way or something like that.
Right.
Hudson, executive director of Disability Rights Iowa, believes changing the state law to deny blind people or others with physical disabilities the right to carry arms would violate federal disability laws. Yeah, it's protected. Part of the Americans with Disabilities Act requires a public entity to conduct an individualized analysis to make a reasonable judgment before denying a service. Hudson believes someone could successfully challenge Nebraska's proof of vision requirement as illegal.
I think that it's like this article would scare people just because they're imagining a room full of completely 100% blind people who can't see anything.
All holding
guns pointing it in different directions. And that's just not the way this is. Like they're imagining South Park.
Or pin the tail on a donkey. People are blindfolded and spun around and like, all right, shoot the target.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's how you have to train nowadays. Like,
I don't know, man.
There's going to be, all I'm saying
help.
is this. Now, there's going to be a lot of crack shot shooters that are visually impaired living in Iowa. People are going to flock to Iowa who are visually impaired, knowing, hey, this is a safe zone, that we can go to.
A gun. I don't think a lot of blind people are worried about being allowed to carry a gun.
All I'm saying is, look out because people are gonna start losing pistol competition. People, they're just everything's gonna change.
I would like to see a blind person who was amazing with a firearm. That would be.
I do not think I have ever seen that before, or at least they didn't tell me.
Yeah, I mean, because it's hard to how do you aim if you can't see that well? Your sight is what shows you the target.
Right. Well, my friend had a theory that was in the military of like Nerf guns. Like he felt that you couldn't miss with a Nerf gun because you just point it and shoot it. And so his whole theory is just treat it like a Nerf gun to where all your training comes into play, but you're just pointing and shooting it. You're not really like, it's like wherever you point your finger, it pretty much will be wherever you're pointing your finger.
Well, when you shoot a Nerf gun, I don't know how about all that, but when I was firing weapons in the military, what I realized is there's a difference between holding a weapon and looking at a target thinking I'm going to connect this weapon to the target. But if you can just imagine a laser coming out of that gun, you can feel where it is already.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like don't think about connecting your weapon to a spot. Think about where your weapon is already connecting.
Right.
And that's how I was actually a sharpshooter. I got 37 out of 40 at a 300 meter with an M16. I was pretty good at shooting.
Yeah.
But that's the way I looked at it. I didn't look at it like I was trying to hit something. I looked at it like when I'm aiming, I'm hitting it.
Right.
And that's why you never aim a weapon at a human being. In the military, they train you hold it down all the time and stuff like that. If you're aware of that just aiming is a connection. It was a lot easier for me. But you have anything else you want to say? Yeah, that's it for the article. Let us know what you think. Give it a thumbs up if you want. If you feel like it, I guess. I don't mind if you don't give it a thumbs up, but whatever. But what do you think about this? Should blind people be allowed to have guns? Should disabled people have equal rights? That's really what it comes down to, I guess. I mean,
access is a right.
Yeah. Other than that, check our link in the description for our Patreon if you want to help us. And thanks for watching.